I'm back. Let's continue our discussion of modern Chinese architecture. The exchange of Chinese and foreign architectural culture has promoted the development of architectural theory. Modern Chinese architecture has its features and can be divided into different schools, including revivalism, minimalism, regionalism, modernism, and environmentalism. Now let's look at them one by one. The advocate of revivalism is to endow traditional architectural style into new buildings. Architecture of this current is with palatial roof, colored glazed tile, reinforced concrete cast brackets, and the beams and columns are painted in color. Asian wooden doors and windows in style are encouraged. Representative works of this school include Beijing Friendship Hotel, Changchun Geological Palace, Chongqing Great Hall of the People. Because of inflexibility and high cost, the style is not very popular now. The feature of minimalist style is to simplify the design elements, colors, lighting, and raw material to a minimum. But the texture of color and materials is still high. Accordingly, contrast space design is usually very implicit in order to achieve the effect of less is more. Representative works in China include the Great Hall of the People, National Museum of China, and the Cultural Palace for Nationalities. The disadvantage of this school lies in over-pursuit of simplicity that reduce the diversity and result in mediocre works. As a contemporary creative tendency, regionalism is an integral part of modern architecture. It follows modern standards and demands, both functional and structural, and only partially absorbs traditional motifs in form. The style is rich and colorful with local characteristics. There are many excellent works of this style in China. For example, Lu Xun's former residence, Intercontinental Shanghai, Sheshan Shimao. Modernist architectures argue to get rid of the shackle of traditional architectural forms and boldly created new buildings adapted to the condition and requirement of industrialized society. Therefore, it has a distinct color of rationalism and radicalism. Architecture of this style has little relationship with the tradition. Best examples of the current are Sanxingdui Museum, National Center for the Performing Arts, Beijing Yongyou Software Park. Environmentalism in architecture is a new trend of thought in recent years. While designing the new works, the architecture takes into account sustainable strategy, resource conservation, ecological principles, and other factors. Best examples are National Acoustic Center and Hangzhou Science and Technology Museum. You may visit the museum and seek its uniqueness if you come to Hangzhou in future. In the history of human civilization, architects have played an extraordinary role. They provide space for people's life, production, and social activities with creative works. They also create wealth for the whole society through complex mental work. In China, there are a large number of excellent architects with international reputation. Next, we are going to know a few of them. Yu Mingpei is a Chinese-American architect. He is the first Chinese architect to win the Pritzker Prize and is known as the last master of modern architecture. Pei is the best designer of significant non-residential structure. His works are many public, cultural, and educational buildings. One of his representative work, Fragrant Hill Hotel, is a modern building with characteristics of traditional Chinese architecture. The architect creates simple and reserved external shape, but skillfully integrates Western modern architectural principle and traditional Chinese construction. His another work, The Bank of China Tower in Hong Kong, is a 70-story high building with the shape of an elegant bamboo which contains the meaning of rising fast in Chinese culture. The asymmetrical tower provides over 130,000 square meters of office space for the bank, which is both practical and beautiful. The new Suzhou Museum is the last design in his career. Therefore, not only does it become a monumental building in Suzhou, but also a significant construction, merging the traditional Chinese architectural design with the future. It enhances the protection of Suzhou cultural heritage and enables the museum to turn on a new page. The museum itself is like a garden. It's not only a place that gives the idea of the history, but also a quiet place for visitors to explore. Wang Shu is one of the most famous architects in contemporary China and a representative figure of new humanistic architecture. He won the 2012 Pritzker Prize. The architect actively created the power of culture and the value of the landscape in the architectural design. Besides, he frequently used recycled material in his work and strongly protects the waste of construction materials. Library of Wenzhen College, Suzhou University, is an example of his idea of allowing people to live in the architecture between mountain and water. Such a building is by a mountain in the north and faces water in the south, while it provides with internet access, reading, computer courses, and other services. The idea of human at one with nature is vividly reflected here. In Ningbo Art Museum, the collected old bricks and tiles are integrated with the unique bamboo formwork concrete surface. It's calm and quiet, like an Asian castle after weathering. The whole building is more like a metaphor, remaking a spiritual fortress of contemporary China with the fragments of history. The Wuzhen Internet International Convention Center takes up 81,000 square meters and features 2.6 million blue tiles. On the facade, million pieces of gray tiles and steel cables are used to symbolize the Internet. As a whole, it presents a harmonious and beautiful scene in which the ancient building in the south of the Yangtze River merged with the modern network, forming a lively dialogue with the whole Wuzhen city.
It was pouring down rain the day I met Wang Shu. We met at Changshan campus of the Chinese Academy of Art in Hangzhou. This building is called Shui An Shanju, and is one of the masterpieces from his collection. And actually, it was a good thing that it was raining because he taught me how to appreciate the wind and the water, both elements that connect us to nature and also to a simpler way of life.
看到水流，能够听到声音，这个实际上是组织过的，能看到在不同的位置上，这个水流下去，像龙一样，中国人管这个叫龙出水。
是。哎，所以就有下雨天能听到。
对，这个就把南方的建筑的特点做出来了。所以建筑不是简单的形式和风格，声音像水都很重要。
所以在设计的时候，你要想到这
对
个事情。
没错。
In 2012, you won the Pritzker Prize. What does that mean to you?
有点突然，大家都知道是建筑界最高的奖。
So you didn't expect it?
也不完全是，我很奇怪，就是我获奖之前大概2-3年。因为我在全世界各地做 lecture， 不同国家的人都问这个问题，说如果中国人会获这个普利策奖的话，你会不会是第一个？我觉得很奇怪，为什么大家都开始问这个问题？所以我很突然，但是也不完全是。
The jury selected you because you have Chinese characteristics within your architecture. Talk about Chinese characteristics. How do you think that can be defined?
其实我觉得中国的建筑的特点是很难用风格来界定的，因为你知道中国特别大，所以经常有人问我说中国的特点是什么？我说中国特点就是它的不可思议的多样性。这跟中国的语言的地方的发音的量差不多。中国的地方语言的不同的发音，大概现在保留的还有300到400种。
Wow. And that's right. I mean, Beijing has Sihuyuan, and Shanghai has Shikumen, Fujian has Tulou, Anhui, the Huizhu architecture with the horse-head structures. And so every province is very different, but what do you think is similar? What brings them together?
我想有几点还是有共通性的，比如一个就是刚才说到的院子，我觉得院子是中国所有地区建筑几乎都存在的，就是某种院子，它来界定公共和私人之间它有一个空间，那这个特别重要。
So community using the space together.
对，当然现在越来越难，是因为以前这个院子实际上是一个半公共的，就是家里面实际上很多户住在一起，它形成这样的一种状态，这就是院子。所以我经常说，中国式的生活有院子就会发生，没有院子它就发生不了中国式的生活，这是一个基本的特征。
What about details like a round door? I think that's very Chinese, and if you put that abroad, people will just see it as a circle door, but what does it mean to Chinese?
对中国来说，圆形的这个门实际上就是月亮，而月亮是一个通道，它可以让我们去另一个世界，是一个神话一样的一个世界。所以中国的传统里面实际上是有这样一种关于永恒的观念。首先是一个人能不能活得最长，如果你一个人不能活得最长，就是你的家族是不是可以存在的很久。而这个呢是和长久的生存有关。圆形的这个洞门其实就是这个含义，就是我们永远知道有另一个世界就那样的一个感觉。
What are some other details of Chinese architecture?
我觉得其实更重要的实际上是关于时间的，就是中国的建筑实际上是在时间的变化过程当中是随着时间是变化的一种建筑。比如说我们用了大量的材料，都是我称之为更自然的材料。自然的材料它就是有一个特点，比如说这个土墙，这个土墙的话，它能够存在1000年之久，是所有建筑材料里其实最坚固的。完了，它在做好到1000年之间，它在这个里面的结构一直在变化，它会越来越硬，越来越硬。完了，它会呼吸，它比如天气变化，它太潮的时候，它就会把水汽吸进来；当这个太干燥的时候，它又会把水汽吐出来，它这样子。
That's incredible. So it's like a living building.
Yes.
Wang Shu is not daunted by the challenges of construction. In fact, he uses them to his advantage. Working with recycled materials, he's able to send several messages about the careful use of resources and respect for tradition and context, as well as give a frank statement about technology and the quality of construction today, particularly in China.
Another important voice of the new generation of architects is Ma Yansong. He is an advocate of the concept of a landscape city. It represents a feeling that people place in nature in pursuit of their spiritual work in Eastern philosophy. He is the founder of Mat Architecture in Beijing. His representative work, the Nanjing Zhengda Himalayas Center is an attempt to create an idealized landscape city with the urban scale work. Located in Nanjing, one of the most modern cities in China with a strong cultural tradition, the Himalayas Center creates an integrated and vibrant space to realize the spiritual fit between man and nature. Another work, Sheraton Hot Spring Resort Hotel, draws inspiration from Chinese classical architecture and blends local in culture and world culture. Ma believes that the arched bridge is an important element of Chinese classical architecture, which is the origin of the appearance of hotel ring. The reflection of the hotel in the lake creates ripples, like a bright moon reflected in the lake. That is really a new interpretation of traditional Chinese culture. The Absolute Towers in Canada is Ma's another representative work. He hoped the towers will awaken people in a big city to a vision of nature and the impact of sun and wind on people's lives. And next, let's see how he interprets landscape city in person.
My name is Ma Yansong. I'm an architect from Mad Architects from China. I'm currently at the RIBA in London. I just attend a panel discussion about the role of architects in the future cities. I think architects is too practical now compared to the generations before, when the young architects has a group, has a social agenda. Now it seems too much dialogue in between the architects and the developers, or capitalism or authorities. I think that's not enough. When we talk about the city, we're not only talking about solving daily issues. We need to talk about what's the future, what's the ideal scenario in the future. Architects should be visionary. We did one proposal called Beijing 2050. In the project, we proposed the Tiananmen Square, the very empty political square in the city center, turn into green. So we think maybe in the future, this space become a very human and open urban space. And then, if that can happen, I think that all the cities around China, the value, everything will follow to change. Who knows, maybe in 2050, it will happen. Then when we look back, we'll see maybe this proposal has some influence, not to the real project, but to the people, to my generation, to the younger generation, that eventually make this concept real.
Personally, I'm very interested in Ma's idea of landscape city, and I'm also optimistic toward his dreamlike proposal of Beijing 2050. What about you? In a section of case study, we like to have a virtual trip to the Xiangshan campus of the China Academy of Art, designed by Wang Shu, and see how he actualized his idea in the real work. The Xiangshan campus of China Academy of Art is located in the south of Hangzhou, surrounded by green mountains and clear waters. It's designed by Wang Shu. The north side of Xiangshan is the first phase of the campus, which was designed in 2001 and completed in 2004. It consists of 10 buildings and 2 covered bridges, with a construction area about 70,000 square meters. The second phase of the campus is on the south side of Xiangshan, designed in 2004 and complete in 2007, including 10 large buildings and 2 small buildings with a construction area of nearly 80,000 square meters. With rich imagination and strong power of execution, Wang Shu creates an open and garden-like campus and serial functional space, integrating architecture, space, landscaping, and natural environment. The architect believed that architecture is landscape. According to his understanding of the way of nature, the original rural landscape, farmland, and fish ponds are retained, and the natural geographical features are fine-tuned. In order to give play to used building materials, Wang Shu collected 7 million pieces of old bricks and discarded tiles from the demolition sites and recreated them on the roofs and walls of buildings in the campus. Now let's set out our virtual tour to the campus. There are more than 5,000 years in the history of Chinese architecture, which has expressed a range of excellent technology, abundant culture, and special styles to us. Chinese architects lay more emphasis upon cultural aspects rather than technology itself, so that architecture can be integrated into the environment and return to life. I'd like to end this lecture with words from Liang Sicheng, the father of modern Chinese architecture. He said that architecture is also the epitome of society and the symbol of the nation, but it does not belong to a nation only. Rather, it retains the concrete pictographic crystallization to human civilization. I think this idea will be well accepted by most architects, regardless of nationalities. All right, that's all about this architecture show. I do hope you have a good time. Thank you.